Hello and welcome to Tim Talk. Today I'll be talking about Sir James Dyson, who invented this and many other incredible electronic devices. Now, don't forget to take a look at the vocabulary list below, and I do hope you enjoy today's talk.
Tim Talk.
Hello, do you know this brand? Dyson is one of the most successful and well-known brands in the world. Maybe you have one of their products in your home or office. There are thousands of stores in over 65 countries around the world, and maybe you've been to one of these Dyson stores and tried out one of their products in the store. But who started this company? Well, the founder of Dyson is Sir James Dyson. And he's not only an industrial designer, he's also CEO of his own company with a net worth of over $14 billion. So let's find out a little bit more about the man Sir James Dyson. Well, Sir James was born in 1947 in Norfolk, England. At school, he was very good at long-distance running marathons, because he said, running marathons taught me persistence. It taught me to never give up, even when I was very tired. Now, he got married quite early to his wife Deirdre, and he was a student at the Royal College of Art, where he studied for a master's degree in interior design. But he wasn't really that interested in interior design. His passion was engineering. And while he was a student, he designed his first engineering project, which was the sea truck in 1970. Now, following that, he designed the ball barrow because he felt that the design of the traditional wheelbarrow could be improved upon. And this was something he did again and again. He looked at products we are using and he thought, how can I improve on the design? Now, he looked at this design and he thought the wheel on the front of the barrow was not a very efficient way to steer the barrow. So he changed the wheel for a ball, and you could steer the barrow much easier with a ball on the front. Now, Sir James's next project was improving the design of the vacuum cleaner. He felt that traditional vacuum cleaners were very inefficient, and he identified a big problem with their design. And that problem was the bag that they used, because the bag would become full of dust. And when the bag became full of dust, it lost power. So these old traditional vacuum cleaners, he thought, were a very bad design, and he was obsessed with improving the design. And he had an idea of how to improve the design, and that was to use cyclonic separation, which was like a small cyclone which pulled the dust up and separated it from the air. So he stayed at home for weeks and weeks experimenting with new designs. And his wife, who was a teacher, supported him while he stayed at home. And every day he would try again and again, and he would fail again and again. And he failed 5,000 times, but he didn't give up. And one day in 1983, he succeeded. But before he succeeded, he had created 5,127 prototypes of his new design. But he eventually succeeded with the G-Force vacuum cleaner. So this was his final design, and it worked. So he was very excited. So he took this new idea to the electronics companies, to the manufacturers. But they said, we're not interested in producing your product. It's too expensive to produce it. It's such a crazy idea. So he said, okay, I'll produce it myself. So he went to the bank and he borrowed some money and he opened his own factory. And he started producing his own vacuum cleaners. Now, by 1993, he had a product ready to sell on the market. This was called the Dual Cyclone vacuum cleaner. And it had a very clever marketing slogan, which was, "Say goodbye to the bag." That means his new design did not use a bag. It was much more efficient. This was a very clever marketing slogan, and it was very effective because his new vacuum cleaner became the biggest selling vacuum cleaner in the UK. Now, his competitors, the companies that refused him originally, now started to copy his design, which was very cheeky. Now, he was very upset about this, and he sued his competitor Hoover for violation of copyright, for basically copying his design. In 2002, James Dyson created his own foundation. This was a foundation to encourage young engineers and designers to come up with new ideas. And he told them, don't worry if you fail, because every time you fail, you will learn something new. And James once said, I made 5,127 prototypes of my vacuum cleaner before I got it right. There were 5,126 failures, but I learned from each one. That's how I came up with a solution. So I don't mind failure. Now, in 2005, Dyson vacuum cleaners became the market leader in the US market. Now, in 2006, Dyson launched the Dyson Airblade hand dryer. You've probably seen one of these in a restroom in a restaurant or hotel. Now, these use very powerful jets of air to remove water from the hands rather than dry water from the hands. So they were much more efficient and they used less energy than traditional hand dryers. Just one problem: when they first came out, people hadn't seen them before, and some folks thought they were a toilet. Not good. In 2007, James Dyson was knighted by the Queen, so he was now Sir James Dyson. In 2014, he donated £8 million to establish a technology hub at the University of Cambridge. Now, his next product was the Dyson Supersonic hairdryer, which was very different to all the hairdryers that had gone before. And I'll tell you why. Because this hairdryer has a hole in the middle and also a very carefully controlled temperature monitor, so it doesn't hurt your hair when you're drying your hair. Very clever. In 2017, James Dyson announced his next project to create an electronic car to rival Elon Musk's Tesla cars. He assembled a group of 400 people to work on the project, and he invested £2 billion of his own money. Unfortunately, the project failed, and in 2019 he announced he was going to cancel the project, which was a shame. But the cars do look kind of like a vacuum cleaner. Would you want to buy one? This is Dyson's research centre. It employs over 3,500 people, and it's located in the UK. Dyson's operations all take place in this centre: the research, the development, the marketing and the public relations, all in this centre. Although he's announced he will relocate his headquarters to Singapore in 2021. Now, James Dyson actually does live in Singapore at the moment, in the tallest tower in Singapore, the Guoco Tower. And yes, he lives in the penthouse, right at the top. So let's look for a moment at how James Dyson changed the world. Well, firstly, he revolutionized electronics. Secondly, he made engineering fashionable again. Thousands of young people were inspired by his innovations and want to study engineering. Thirdly, he showed that failing is okay. Now let's share James Dyson's 3 secrets for success. Number 1, he believed that you have to actively go out and look for problems, and then you can solve them. So he looked to identify problems and then he worked hard to solve the problems. Number 2, he believed in persistence. That to succeed, you have to be persistent. You have to keep going and never give up. Third, he learned that you can learn from your mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes because you can learn from them. Now let's finally look at a quotation from James Dyson. He said, "Enjoy failure and learn from it. You can never learn from success."
Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again for another Tim Talk.